Welcome back. Financial Issues. I'm Dan Celia. It's great to be here. 866-300-9298. We are opening our lines. We're queuing up calls, and we'll get to phone calls here in a minute or two. Charles Plosser, Philadelphia Fed, said something that I've been afraid about and I've warned you about yesterday. He's the Philly Fed president. And he was talking about a couple of things. One of them was inflation. He said this, listen.
I would like to see inflation creep up a little bit. The Fed has established an inflation target of 2%, something I felt very strongly about, and we did. And I think it's important that we defend that target, and we credibly commit to defending that target. And so we are a little low, but I'm expecting inflation to begin to drift back up towards the target over the next year or two.
Well, it's going to drift up a lot more than the target, by the way, there, Charles. But, whenever I hear a Fed president say, we'd like to see inflation creep up a bit, it always concerns me because I know, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, that we live in an environment of this incredible arrogance in the Fed. I think Ben Bernanke personified the arrogance that the Fed has, and it's going to carry through, that they think that they can control a little bit of inflation. I don't know that Greenspan was as arrogant, but they think they're going to control. We're going to see a little bit of inflation creep up, and we want to see it near the 2%. And I think they're just living in some kind of fantasy world if they think you're going to do it, if they think they're going to do it. And we have heard warnings from former Fed presidents. I'm not going to play that clip, but I'll play it, I'm sure, in the next month or so. We'll play it, but it's interesting when we go back to the Jimmy Carter years, and we saw what happened when they tried to let a little inflation creep in. Very, very interesting. Anyway, so that's a little bit scary. The other thing that is scary, although nobody seems to be afraid of it, but just a few, that is what is going on in Russia. Their troops are massing along the eastern border of the Ukraine. They need to take control of some of the cities and some of the territory between Crimea and Russia so that they can go without any issues between Russia and Crimea. And they need to do that. They're going to do it in all likelihood. The big question is, will they stop there? And my guess is no, they will not. President Obama yesterday talked once again about the Soviet Union, who he doesn't consider a threat. As a matter of fact, I'm not surprised that he's not over there, meeting with Putin and trying to negotiate with this former KGB president. Anyway, listen to what President Obama said yesterday.
Make no mistake, neither the United States nor Europe has any interest in controlling Ukraine. We have sent no troops there. What we want is for the Ukrainian people to make their own decisions, just like other free people around the world. Understand as well, this is not another Cold War that we're entering into. After all, unlike the Soviet Union, Russia leads no bloc of nations, no global ideology. The United States and NATO do not seek any conflict with Russia.
They don't seek any conflict with Russia because Russia controls too much of the oil through those European nations. And if he thinks we're not entering into some sort of Cold War, he's living in some sort of twilight zone, which in reference to his foreign policy is pretty typical of this president to be living in some sort of twilight zone. His approval rating dramatically down. And one of the reasons, what do you think it is? Foreign policy. It's at the lowest levels. That's according to a poll out this morning from the Washington Post, which I understand it is the Washington Post. But nevertheless, approval ratings continue to drop. Europe, of course, is not seeking any conflict with any country that they get 66% of their energy from. Anyway, I mean, this is such weak, pathetic, clueless, inept leadership on foreign policy that if it weren't so scary, it would be comical. As we know those in Russia just laughing at the comments that this president has made while he goes on another, he can embarrass himself enough here in this country and embarrass the American people. Does he have to go everywhere else and do the same thing? It is absolutely pathetic. We get another extension on Obamacare yesterday. I just think, speaking of comical, because that is comical. There's just, you talk about what law? Obamacare, is that a law? Is that a piece of legislation? Wait a minute, I didn't think you just changed legislation. You don't change it. It's against the Constitution. You got to go back to Congress to change a piece of legislation. This guy's done it 100 times. I don't think it's been 100, but it's been a lot. Change it again. Oh, no. They're not extending. There's no extension here. They haven't come up with another word. I don't think they have another word for this postponing. It's an extension. Again. Charles Krauthammer last night, I don't know if you saw it, talked about this. Listen to this, and then we're going to go to calls.
Well, no. It's apparently statutory authority is not required under this presidency to change a statute. This is how it works. It's what the administration decides that morning and wants the law to read, which is sort of comical. This is one of the longest laws in American history, thousands of pages, and you never hear anybody referring to Section 706B or whatever, because what's written in the law really, for all those words, none of them really matter because they get changed arbitrarily after the law is passed. Of course, with this administration, there are no deadlines unless the president or Sebelius or somebody else decides that the gig is up.
Mm. So, has there ever been, I'm just asking a question. You don't need to answer. We're going to get to financial questions here in a minute. But has there ever since 2009 been a more appropriate time to start impeachment process for the abuse of power and for the outright believing that he is above the law and above the Constitution, above what he was sworn in to uphold? Have you heard the Republican representative or senator start talking about now is the time? We've got to do this for the American people. Oh, no, we'll wait till 2016 and surely we'll win the election and everything will be fine. The point is the American people today are being denied the freedoms and being denied what our founding fathers fought for in the controls established for the people, by the people, for the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch. He has chose to totally ignore it. And all of our representatives, Republicans and Democrats and independents alike, have chose to ignore the fact that he continues to ignore it. And we need to do nothing about it. Pathetic. 866-300-9298. 866-300-9298. Let's go to the phones. Let me go to Debbie. Debbie's calling us from Pennsylvania. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Dan. I'm calling this morning regarding a 401k that I have with a former employer. And I want to take that money out of that 401k. Now, I want some of it for some personal use, but I want to put the rest in in a savings or Roth or something. I just want to know the best way to move the bulk of the money, to move all the money, and then not have a real big penalty or have to pay taxes on the full amount.
Are you over
Once I
50?
move it.
Are you over 59 and a half, Debbie?
Yes, I am.
So you won't have any penalties, and you will only have taxes from the portion in which you actually use and withdraw. So you can move that money to a traditional IRA, not a Roth, a traditional IRA. So you could open an IRA at the bank.
Okay.
You could move the money from your former employer to the bank IRA. You could open an IRA at a Timothy Mutual Funds or at a broker, online brokerage or something like that. You can roll it anywhere.
Okay.
And anything, once you roll it, anything you withdraw for some personal uses, you've pointed out some other things, you will have to just pay tax on that money. You won't have to pay tax on, the whole lump sum of money unless you were to, withdraw all of it and just put it in a savings account instead of rolling it into another traditional IRA. Then the entire amount would be taxable to you this year.
Okay. So I can go to my local bank that has an IRA and set an account up there and roll over to there.
Yes, you can. Now, I would just caution you, Debbie, is don't let the bank talk you in to doing anything. They're going to try to talk you into doing an annuity or try to talk you into doing some mutual funds. Just get it moved over into a cash account, a money market account, savings account kind of thing, where you're not going to gain anything, but you don't stand to lose anything either. Until you get things sorted out, withdraw what you need to withdraw, get things sorted out, and then you can start thinking once the markets settle down, whenever that might be, you can start thinking about making a different change.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Dan. Have a good day.
Thank you. By the way, folks, the markets all opened in negative territory. Yesterday, the Dow was down, I don't remember, 98, 99, somewhere in that neighborhood, just under 100. And right now, the Dow's down 24. Let me go to George. George calling us from Texas. Hi, George.
Hi, Dan. How are you?
Okay.
Dan, the question I have is, we are 63 years old. We have about $100,000 in cash right now, just sitting there, and wonder what would be the best avenue to make the money work for us.
Mm-hmm. Is this IRA money, George, or just savings?
Both.
Okay. And is this money that you're going to be dependent upon at some point in time to supplement your income, do you think?
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you what, George. I mean, I'm too concerned with what is going to happen in the markets. I'm just too concerned to say, George, here's a much better place to move it for your cash. You can earn a little bit, you can gain a little bit. I don't see it. And I think that if you're already in cash, you're not earning anything, I understand. But I would say to you, George, there's great value in not losing anything either when the market comes tumbling down. And I think that as you think about what you're not getting, you can take a little peace in knowing that you're protecting the principal. Now, at some point in time, will it be prudent for you to move into a few stocks or maybe even a bond or a bond fund like a Timothy plan or mutual fund at Timothy, but move into something like that, some energy stocks, some oil stocks, and so on and so forth, just as a hedge against inflation? Sure, that time is going to come, and I would suspect that time could be here in the next year and a half or so, tops. But right now, I would feel better with you not doing anything while everything is at an all-time high almost, and just sitting tight.
Fantastic. That's the way I was leaning, but, I value your opinion, and I appreciate that very much.
Well, you're welcome, George, and you were right on track with that. So, but I'm glad you called and got some confirmation on that. It's always good to get that second opinion. So thank you for that. 866-300-9298. Also, just remind everybody, don't forget to read my case for income. It's a little bit longer than an average article, but if you go to my website at financialissues.org, financial issues, all one word, .org, you'll see in the front page, there's a little banner kind of in the middle of the front page. It says case for income. I think it's a blue little banner. And if you click on that, you'll be able to read. You could print it out. If you're like me and you don't like to read on the screen, that's what us old people, we don't like to do that. We have to print it out. But you can print it out or you can read it. But I would suggest that everybody listening to me that is nearing retirement needs to read that. It's extremely important to read because I think it's going to give you a kind of a new set of parameters in your mind as to the way you ought to be thinking about your retirement and what's important during retirement. So I think it's very important. So financialissues.org, click on a case for income. You can go to afafoundation.net, or no, afafoundation.net, afafoundation.net, and read it as well. So I hope you'll do that. 866-300-9298. We're going to get right back to the phones after this. Hi, this is Dan Celia for Financial Issues. We live in some volatile times.